Hello. I'm Damien Cross at DC_F1 on Twitter, and welcome to ZoomZoomers. If this is your first time here, thanks for coming along. Thanks for watching along live. I'm now going to go and let the guys in. I see there's lots of participants there. We are live, so the usual disclaimers apply. That if you hear any bad language, apologies for that, but we'll let the guys in and see how we're going. A nice busy one today. So I've also got some new people, and Mark, I can see you there already. Are you right there, Mark? And we've got Neil, we've got Craig, Alan, Cammie. We've got a fantastic group here. A few people coming back for the first time for a while. And Mark, I'm not sure we can hear you there, buddy. Are you connected to audio? Do you give us a shout? Well, some technical issues for Mark, but let's start. Let's have a look with Craig.
Hello.
Hello, you can hear me all right, can you?
Yep.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, Mark. That's good. Cool. Fantastic. I'm just letting a few more people in before we get going. We've got a familiar face for some of us, but a new face for anyone at ZoomZoomers. Of course, we've got Brandon there. Brandon 2D. We'll discuss why that.
Hi guys. Yeah, didn't change my name.
That's all right. We get some strange names pop up here. Yeah, going well. How are you doing?
Yeah, great. Thank you. Really cool. Good. Well, for a Monday night, anyway.
Yeah. Well, this is our Monday nights now. It's been like this for I should know how many of these were done, but I don't. But we've done a few. This is kind of the routine now. And there's a few people here. Alan, Craig. You know that Richard. You've done that.
Hey
all
guys,
of them,
it's great to meet you.
Yeah.
Cammie's doing some last minute preparation. You look fabulous, Cammie. You always do. Don't worry. But we'll start with the people that are here. Some people may join as we're going along. We'll also have some special guests coming about halfway through as well. But I'll start as always based on the layout that I have it. So sorry if it's confusing for people watching on YouTube, but my layout shows Mark Turner at the top left. So Mark, if you could let us know your name and your Twitter handle, please.
Yeah, sure. Mark Turner, and on Twitter I am Blacktop Media UK.
Fantastic. Neil.
Hi, I'm Neil Briscoe. I'm a motoring journalist working with the Irish Times and CompleteCar.ie. You can find me on Twitter at Neil M. Briscoe.
Lovely, thank you. Craig.
Yes, just as I take a drink of beer. I'm Craig.
You do it deliberately.
Yeah, I always do it deliberately, it seems. I'm Craig Woollard at Craig_Woollard, and I am a freelance motorsport journalist and historian.
Thanks, Craig. Alan.
Hi, I'm Alan Bradley. I'm a presenter of the Motoring Podcast, and on Twitter, I'm at AJP Bradley, Bradley.
Lovely, thank you. Cammie.
Hello, I'm Cammie Racing on Twitter. I'm sim racer for Fordzilla and Racing Pride's eSport ambassador.
Fantastic, thank you. And Richard.
Hello, I'm Rich Gooding. On Twitter, I'm at richgooding.com, and I'm a freelance writer and graphic designer.
Thank you. Christopher, nice to have you back.
Hey, my name is Christopher. My Twitter handle is @ChristopherPBS, a little microphone emoji, and I'm a freelance journalist and political activist and co-founder of Racing Pride.
Thank you. Naomi.
Hi, Naomi Panter at Naomi Panter on Twitter, and I'm motorsport PR predominantly and co-founder of a company called Navigate.
Thanks, Naomi. Now, Brandon, this is your first time here, and I've been really excited to have you along. So if you could just let people know your name and your Twitter handle as well, please.
Yeah. So name is Brandon Seaber, Seaber, as it's not on the screen. And same Twitter handle as well. It's Brandon Seaber, and I am freelance motorsport designer.
Let's have a bit of a chat about what you've been up to, because it must have been quite a busy time for you. I know you've obviously done liveries for real cars, but has there been a big demand from esports competitors wanting?
Yeah, I mean it's been surprising, to be honest. The busiest time of the year is obviously, it tends to be January to April. So just as we got out of that for the real stuff, obviously everything that happened, and I was expecting everything to dry up even more than it usually does. But it wasn't actually too bad. There was a steady stream of work from teams and drivers, etc. And then, as you say, all the virtual stuff came about, so we've been doing a ton of kind of iRacing stuff, helmets, liveries, all of that stuff to keep really busy. So it's been a hectic couple of months, but really fun as well. So
Yeah, I bet. So how does the year normally work for you? Is this your day job doing vehicle liveries, or is it just general graphic design that you tend to do?
No, so my day job's actually a web designer.
Okay.
So I do that day to day, and then the motorsport stuff is just weekends, evenings, that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's kind of over the years it's morphed into almost a second full-time job for most of the year anyway. Obviously it gets very quiet, but at certain points of the year, but yeah, it's a busy one. So
good to hear. And if people want to check out more of your work, obviously we said your Twitter handle there. Are you active across all social networks? You've got your own website?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on Instagram, and that's brandonseaber.design. And I've got obviously a website as well, which is brandonseaber.com. And yeah, I tend to keep Instagram most up to date with work. Not so much on Twitter, but yeah, active on there anyway. But.
Cool. And there was a race series recently, an esports series, where you and a load of other designers kind of got together and kind of fleshed it out.
Yeah. So it was an idea that started on Twitter, actually, just kind of the guys kind of joking around a little bit with it, and then it kind of morphed into a serious thing, and that was a lot of fun. So we ran an F3 series on iRacing. We did 4 rounds. And everyone, I think we had about 20 designers on the grid in the end, and everyone kind of did their own custom liveries and really colourful kind of grid. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Some of the guys on there definitely raced a little bit before, and some definitely hadn't. But yeah, it was interesting. So
yeah, so nobody turned up with just a plain black car. Just you had to show off.
No, I think people spent more time on their liveries than they did practicing. So,
how do you feel about that, Cammie? Because you've got you F3 for a start, which is kind of your domain on online racing. Of course, your liveries are fantastic as well.
I felt personally attacked when he said that.
This is your hood, isn't it?
I felt my heart crack. Yeah, that's definitely me. I've just had to jump out of a practice session actually for Sim Racers World GT Pro. We're practicing for Monza. So jumped in, I was there about 15 minutes. Right, guys, I've got to go for this podcast. And they're like, what? You just got here.
Drag them along one week, just drag them along. And yeah.
It's all right. The session goes on until like 11 p.m. So
it's only Monza as well. It's just straight lines. You'll be fine. It's not that hard, is it?
That's it.
Well, while we're talking motorsport, just quickly before we move on to talking about what you'd buy if you suddenly came into a lot of money, we can't help but notice that there'd been another Grand Prix. They seem to come around all the time now, and again, kind of a bit of a busy one. Craig, I'll come to you. I know you're on you at the moment, but how do you think the Grand Prix went this time around?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were almost kind of expecting a repeat result of last week's, because it was at the same circuit. So you can be forgiven for thinking that, but it was quite interesting. I thought it wasn't the same sort of, oh my god, what the hell's going on here, every 5 seconds sort of race that we had last week, but it was definitely interesting right until the end. I think the way how the strategy played out for a lot of teams, but drew a lot of cars close together towards the end, and the finishing positions kept changing right until the start finish line pretty much. So yeah,
exactly. Yeah, those final few laps were intense. How do you think Ferrari might have done had they not had their mishap?
They would have struggled to score some points, I think, to be honest. So
yeah, is that going to be symptomatic of the season as a whole, do you think?
I don't know. We'll see. Austria is a bit of a weird track because of the curbs and straights and all that sort of stuff. So we'll see at Hungary. This weekend it should be a downforcier circuit, which I've just invented that word. I
love that.
Which might suit them a bit better than Austria did, but we'll see. It might be even worse for all we know.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's certainly one of the downforciest of them all, isn't it? So it's a different kettle of fish. Did anyone else here see the Grand Prix during the weekend, or Chris?
No.
Neil?
Yeah, I managed to catch it.
Catch it. A few no's. We won't give any spoilers away then, just in case you do want to catch it. But there's another one along.
I've been forced by a certain person whose name you might be able to guess into shelling out for Sky Sports. So yeah, I watched it.
Okay.
How is Ray doing?
He is doing great, thanks. It's his birthday coming up on Friday, so it's all hands to the pumps to try and make that special. But yeah, he's doing great. Thanks very much.
Good, and he's one of his quizzes is hopefully going to be putting in an appearance later on today. Fantastic. Before we do that, then let's have a chat because the theme of the week. And I kind of dropped this on Brandon at the last minute, so apologies, Brandon, if you hadn't had a chance to think about it. This kind of hypothetical scenario we've all been through. Our numbers all come in, and you get 5 million of the currency of your choice. What do you go out and buy first? So I know we'd all end up probably with a lovely split of different cars, different types of cars to satisfy every requirement. But Alan, let's start with you. Where £5 million for you? What's the first thing you do?
The first thing I do is stand there and go, oh, what am I going to buy? Because there's so much stuff, which is basically what happened to me on this challenge.
Okay.
Because you can't just go off and go to like Car and Classics or something and put in like, yeah, I'll have anything in the 3 to 5 million range would be brilliant, thanks. Because they're all priced on application. So I went out and I know it would be in there, so it would have to be something like a Citroen SM. There's an absolute mint one on there for about 60 grand.
Yeah.
And it was beautiful. And I just can't think of much that's classier than that. Because I'd end up with a very big shed. Say again, Mark?
You'd spend that 5 million keeping it running.
Well, yeah, you probably would. Yeah, the first 2 or 3 times it caught fire, for example.
Yes.
But yeah, I just end up with a very big shed full of lots of cars, probably not much more than 100 grand max.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't afford a McLaren F1, to be honest.
Well, that's the ultimate thing, isn't it? I remember once many years ago when they weren't quite so unobtainable, still in the millions, that I'd written out, what I would get, and then there was also, or if it was Euro millions, then maybe you could consider a McLaren F1.
Yeah,
but
that would be the ultimate. The 5 million was a tough cut off.
Yeah, because you don't want to blow it all on cars. You've got to have somewhere to live and food and things like that. Okay, maybe you can blow it all on cars. Mark, now you might go for cars, but to me, you're still the bike person. Would you go cars or are you going to? Yeah.
No, I've gone for one of the ultimate motorbikes. Hang on, you can see it there. Street Hawk. I don't know if any of you remember Street Hawks.
Yeah, the young people are saying, what's a Street Hawk? But no, I sold you one.
Pretty awesome. Yeah, like an 80s TV thing. It was like the 2-wheel version of Knight Rider, but obviously better because it's 2 wheels.
This sounds like a niche that you've had since the 80s that you're desperate to scratch.
Yep.
yeah. So let's hope that you get that lottery win and you get your Street Hawk. That'd be so cool. Chris, what do you think you'd go for if suddenly you found your numbers had come up and you had?
I mean, there's definitely a couple of cars I've got on my list. One of which is a one-off because I think it should be seen more. And that's the Van Wall DPR V12.
Yeah,
and I've talked about this before. Basically, an attempt at basically making a production Van Wall, which was released back in 2003, but it sort of came before everyone became obsessed with modernizing retro stuff. So yeah, I'd probably go out and find that, restore it, and just add like a few modern bits that actually make it bearable inside. And then I would probably take it up to Norfolk and absolutely thrash it along the coast road.
Brilliant,
which you're familiar with. So yeah, I think because I'm very happy with my Mini at the moment, with my recently collected Mini. In terms of anything else, I think I'd be tempted to go after an Alpine A110, both new and original.
Yeah,
great looking car, and I would probably end up giving it to my parents.
Cool, fantastic. Yeah, your parents are up on the north, actually on the coast, pretty much.
Yeah, so they're in a tiny little hamlet called Morston, which is, if anyone knows, North Norfolk is near Blakeney. And yeah, they're up there, and some cracking roads around there. Very narrow, but great fun. Let's drive on those.
Yeah, fantastic roads. And Neil, then. So, how about you?
Well, predictably, I thought far too long and hard about this, and there's an inevitable Land Rover Defender in there somewhere in the mix. But I also thought, bit like Alan, buy something really amazing that will then chew up the rest of the 5 million, keeping it running and keeping it alive. And I came up with a Tatra 603. I've just always been fascinated. It's KGB chic. That's the best way I can describe it. It is just such a beautiful, interesting, oddball car. And life is not lived unless you've got a 2.5 4-liter air-cooled V8 slung out behind the back axle, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, indeed. Any idea roughly how much that would set you back nowadays, or is it a piece of?
Yeah, a good one's a really good one's probably going to set you back about £50,000 or euros. Doesn't make much of a difference, I don't think. But then it's going to be another several million on top of that just to keep it alive for the next sort of 5 to 10 years, I would imagine. But I'll buy something. I promise, Alan, I'll buy a Yaris just to keep, as something reliable to sit next to it.
So all the cool kids have.
Does Alan in particular want to hear my really awful Citroen SM story?
Yeah.
I got this third hand, but I'm fairly sure it's true. When Citroen and Maserati went through their breakup, there was a stock of SM V6 engines sitting on the top floor of a warehouse in Paris. And because the breakup was so rancorous and they didn't want to have anything to do with Maserati anymore, they were unceremoniously shoved out of the top floor loading door and into a skip about 3 stories below.
I work for a French company, so I can believe that would happen. Yes.
Yeah. It was vindictive eviction.
Wow. Naomi, what do you think you'd go for?
I was like Alan. I really struggled and couldn't. Because there are plenty of cars I would love, but I don't think I really aspire to the crazy sort of collectible car that's an investment or a showpiece rather than a car. Like I'd want a Morgan Plus 8. I'd want a Mint Mark 1 TT. I'd want a current Ford GT. There's lots of things I'd really like, but I deferred to my business partner, he does a bit of car brokerage from time to time, and he informed me that what I should pick was the Mercedes-Benz AMG CLK GTR. And the reason which did sell for 4.5 million at Sotheby's a couple of years ago, and the reason I went with that option is I remember it being the fastest car outright on Top Trumps in the 90s. You had that card, you knew you were going to win. So I'm gonna say that.
Wow.
While I'm talking, I wanted to say to Neil, your reviews have been very helpful. I'm currently looking for a new car, and I've been reading your writing, and it's been actually very helpful. I think I'm gonna.
Jesus Christ! Don't listen to me. I don't know what I'm talking about. No.
So, the worst thing you can ever hear is, "Yeah, I heard your review, and so we went and bought one." And you're like, "Oh,
the pressure's
this
on
is how
now.
people end up with Alfa Romeos. Don't do it,
Thanks, Naomi. So, Richard, what we can perhaps see where this is going, but maybe you'll surprise us.
Maybe not. Well, like Naomi and Alan, I had a bit of a hard choice to make, but I'm a man of modest means, so I think I would either choose a Porsche 937, which in other words is a 924 Carrera GT.
Okay.
Purely on how it looked. Very shallow on, I do like how they look with the pumped up arches and stuff. Or a Ford RS200.
Oh, okay.
The 80s.
Yeah.
I think either of those two.
Either of those. Yeah, be happy with either of those.
Yeah.
Any idea what sort of price they go? I mean,
no, I know
it
was 20 grand new, but that was in 1980s. So I don't know what it's worth now.
Yeah. I'm sure you could get plenty of cool cars for your 5 million, couldn't you? So, okay, Cammie, we haven't been to you yet, have we? Sorry, but
I just had to unmute myself there. No, I know what I want though. Do you remember the Lotus T125?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Yeah, where the where it comes along with a truck and mechanics and your very own Jean Alesi.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? Yeah.
That's it. Just no question. Just have one of those.
That's a Rodin these days, isn't it? Am I wrong in that?
It's a what? Sorry.
Is that a Rodin these days?
Oh,
is that what it's called?
RODIN.
Oh, Neil's nodding, and
I'm not even sure what the phrase means.
Yeah, there was a big feature about it in motorsport. Was it last month or the month before?
They're in New Zealand these days.
Yeah.
And Jamie Chadwick's just got a brand deal with them.
Oh, interesting.
I did not know that.
There we go. So a Rodin. There you go. That's what you need to look out for.
RODIN.
Cool. When you win the lottery, then Cammie, you know, if you go to Lotus, you won't find anything there. You've got to go to Rodin.
Rodin.
Yeah, jot it down.
Yeah, we're gonna have to, double check the spelling and everything. But
Cool. Craig, what would you go for, bud?
It costs about 5 million to buy an Indy car and run that for a year. There we go. It's not the least.
Obvious answer, really.
It's not the most practical option in the world, and you only get one car really, and you do have to kind of buy the mechanics as well and the spare parts when you inevitably crash it. But yeah, it costs about $5 million to run an Indy car for a year. So yeah,
That'd be you think?
Yeah,
it'd be more reliable than the SM.
Oh,
Alan
definitely.
will be trying to get to the track and come see you, but you won't be able to. Okay, now Brandon, like I say, you haven't had long to think about this. I don't suppose you've got any ideas.
Yeah, no, not too long to think about it. But I think what I'd have to go with the last proper F3 cars. I'd have to get. I obviously wouldn't be able to drive it, but I would have it sitting there in a garage. I think it's one of the cars that kind of made me kind of fall in love with junior racing, and I think specifically the F312 Delara would be. I'd get one of those. And yeah, it's one of the first cars I like designed a livery for as well. So there's a bit of a meaning for that as well. So definitely one of those.
And to me, it looks like an F3 car. The ones they race on the Formula One package now, to me, aren't F3 cars.
Exactly, they're not quite the same.
No,
not quite as raw, not quite as, I don't know. There's something about an older F3 car that's a little bit different and just looks a bit lighter, a bit more nimble. So
yeah, sounds good. Now, while you're here, Brandon, because you've not been on here before, we've got a thing called a Track Day Own Scrap Wheel. So we'll have a look at that in just a moment, and we'll give you a chance to play Track Day Own Scrap. I'll explain it more. Mark, have you actually done it before?
No,
because
no.
you've been on a few of these, but you've never done a Track Day Own Scrap Wheel. So it is kind of, as you perhaps imagine, it's if you've not seen it before, Track Day Own Scraps. You have 3 cars pop up. We tend to get people who are new to ZoomZoomers to have a go. 3 cars will pop up. You choose one to own and one you've got to throw in the bin. So I'll just do a screen share, which people know takes me a long time. And then I'll spin it. I'll do it for you first, Brandon. Let me know, everybody, when you can see the Track Day Own Scrap Wheel. Might take a few seconds because there's always a bit of a delay. Then you can
there we are.
yeah,
There we are. Cool. Okay, Brandon. So you first of all, I'm going to spin it 3 times. So don't worry. Although the images are quite small there, they'll pop up larger when it spins.
Okay, cool.
So your first one, it's a bit jerky because it's trying to do lots of things at once. Okay, so your first car, a bit of a strange one, is a Di Tommaso Pantera.
Okay, never seen one of those before. So.
There you go. You have to make a judgment based on that image, and hopefully it's clear enough for you. But that's the first one of your 3. Remove that. We'll give that another spin. I might jot these down because I often forget. So Di Tommaso Pantera. And then you have a BMW M3, and this is the E30 version.
Okay, cool.
Okay, so another
very nice
older one. Right, and your third one. And that's going to stop on the Renault Sport Spider. So Track Day 1, own 1, but that means the other one's got to go in the bin. So to run through, you've got the Tommaso Pantera, you've got the old BMW M3, and the Renault Sport Spider.
Okay, I think Track Day, I would definitely have to go with the Renault just because it looks like a track car. Looks like it'd be a lot of fun. So yeah, let's go with that. I think I'd own the BMW.
Yeah.
Actually, don't know too much about it, but looks very smart. Looks like as you'd expect BMW to look. And then I'd scrap the other one that I can't remember its name. So
fair enough, you're not going to miss it then.
no, exactly.
No, that's fine. So the old Italian, the Pantera, is gone in the bin. Thanks for that, Brandon. So you up for this, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay, let's give you a spin.
That last one was tough.
It was. That was a good selection. That. Okay. So the first one that's come up for you is the Honda NSX Type R.
Okay.
So not just any old NSX. So I'm afraid these are all going to have 4 wheels. I'm not sure you're going to cope with that, but you're going to have to make a judgment. So Honda NSX Type R.
I can trade them in for bikes, I'm sure.
yeah, if you just keep the one that's most valuable. So your next one is the Lexus LFA, which is the
Yeah.
V10 Screamer that I think Clarkson really, really liked. And your third and final one. Oh, okay. Now I can see what's come up before you guys can.
Oh,
There we go. The Ford Transit
Supervan
Supervan 3.
oh, is it 3, right? Oh, that's tricky. Okay,
This is a
so,
much more mixed bag than Brandon had to deal with.
Isn't it? Yeah. Definitely can't scrap Supervan. That's just awesome. I'd probably daily that. And then
Okay.
yeah. And then I'm thinking LFA probably is going to go in the bin, and I'll go and track the NSX, I think.
Excellent. Sorry, Lexus, you've done a fantastic job
Yeah.
of building a great car, but basically the transit van stays. Lovely. Thanks for that. I'll bring that back out again, the track day and scrap wheel, when we have our guests arrive, which won't be too far away. But yeah, before we do that, Richard Goodin, the last few weeks we've had you've been testing some cars. I think the last one you spoke about was a Toyota Pro Ace. What have you been up to since that's gone home?
I've now had got two plug-in hybrids on the bounce. Last week I had a Volvo XC40 T5 twin engine, and that went back this morning and was replaced by a Ford Kuga plug-in hybrid, the new one.
Oh, nice.
Only moved it on and off the drive to charge it, because it arrived with no charge. That's as far as I've driven it.
So you has, apart from the Toyotas, everything you've had since lockdown kind of started to get lifted, has it all been electric or hybrid? There's not been anything that hasn't got that?
No, because one of the titles I write for, Green Fleet, that is predominantly low carbon, fleety kind of transport, so they have to be electric. So
yeah. And Neil, have you had any more? Because last time we saw you, I think you were in a Land Rover.
I was in a Land Rover with quite a substantial part of my mother-in-law's house. The Defender sadly went back this morning once Land Rover had found a crowbar large enough to get the keys out of my hand, and once I'd stopped crying in the corner and saying no, you can't have it. Did like that a lot. Picked up a Mazda CX-30 today with the Skyactiv X engine, the clever engine in it, and it's quite pleasant. It's nice. It's a little bit tight in the back, but aside from that, yeah, it's a nice little car.
Oh, fantastic. Good to see you guys still do things. I know the likes of Ben would normally chip in with a few things that aren't embargoed. It seems to be every time we ask Ben, he can't say anything, but he's not about today, which is a bit of a shame. So anyone else? I don't think anyone else here on the call today has been testing cars actually at the moment. Alan's having a think. Have you been given anything, Alan?
Not yet. I'm collecting one on Thursday, though.
Okay.
I've had a couple of bikes.
What have you? Oh, you've had some, talking of electric, I think Mark, you've been on. You're quite experienced on electric bikes now. So what's the latest one that you've been on?
Yeah, I had the Zero SRS, which is it's like almost a naked bike with a little bit of a fairing on it, so a street bike really, but absolutely outrageous, so fast, it's unbelievable. But yeah, really fast. It's 190 Newton meters of torque, and it's torque all the time because it's electric, so it's phenomenal on a bike. Works really well.
What about one thing? If my dad was here, luckily he's not because he's a moron. But if he was here, he would be saying, "Shouldn't all motorbikes scream at you when they're coming along so you know they're coming?" How do you feel about that?
I totally get it. It's good and bad. Pedestrians and other motorists and stuff, they don't hear you. To be fair, most people don't see you and stuff now anyway, because they're always busy on sat navs and phones and stuff. But pedestrians particularly, they don't hear you at all. So you've got to be a little bit cautious. But the trade-off, I think, is that when you're going through villages and stuff like that, you don't get sort of the elderly couples and stuff getting annoyed with you with race cans and stuff. But
yeah,
I think interesting point about noise is that it probably isn't current motorcyclists that are going to swap over to electric bikes. I think the future customers are non-riders at the moment.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, I think that's a really valid point. We've done a bit of research where, for the work I do about people in the inner cities, and whether they're considering swapping to two wheels. People that have been using public transport or cars really keen now because of the lockdown. It's kind of made everyone rethink things. I think two wheels, especially if they're quiet, is going to be a way for them to go. As a cyclist rather than a motorcyclist myself, I can completely understand people just stepping out in front of you when they don't hear you coming. It's something that you kind of get used to when you hammer along on a pedal bike, and I can kind of see that being a bit of an issue. Is there really a solution to that? Because you can't really quickly go for a horn, can you?
No, I think I've heard all sorts of talk about mandatory noise kind of devices being fitted to electric cars and bikes, but I don't know if it'll come about.
Yeah, it's a solution that's going to be tricky. I mean, the air obviously is still moving through the bodywork to some extent, and that can create a sound. So maybe they have to work on that a bit more to not make it an unpleasant sound, but at least let people know.
Most of these things on electric cars, they work at a low speed and then they switch off as you get faster, because obviously there's more tire and general wind noise really created.
That's the thing. When a car or bike's going at a decent speed, they don't really sound that different from a car with a traditional internal combustion engine, which nowadays they're not very loud. The engine isn't making that much noise. In terms of,
that's a really good point.
Sorry, Mark.
No, that's a really good point. They're not particularly loud these days, and most cars, I think anyway, most cars that I've tested, they actually don't sound very nice anyway. They sound a bit drony and a bit restricted, and it's legislation, isn't it? I guess.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Now we do have a guest waiting in the wings before we crack on too much. So I'm just going to let labelled as Jeff, but we'll see how it actually turns up. Jeff is connecting to audio, so just wait that for one more moment. We'll leave that just for a second. While they're connecting, Mark, how do these electric bikes compare in terms of price generally to their kind of internal combustion cousins?
Oh, that is a tricky one, actually, Damien. This SRS is not your typical electric bike. So another one that I tested was this little thing, a Horwin, just a bog standard kind of 125-ish commuter. That's about $5,000, maybe 4.5, $5,000. No problem, that's fine. This one was 20, so it was a big chunk of money for a bike.
And what about range? What's an generally accepted range now on an electric motorbike?
You know, that's again another really interesting point, and having had one for an extended test now, it makes much more difference. I understand that better, and it's about how you use it. I jumped on the thing, cranked it up into sport mode, smashed it down the dual carriageway, and before I'm out of Peterborough, I've used 15% of the range, which was a little worrying. But you can get 110-ish miles out of it if you're a little bit more gentle. So it's whatever you want, between 70 and 110, I think, on the big one anyway.
It's really amazing how fast these things are developing. I was thinking of, if you haven't seen it, that film Charge about the Isle of Man TT. If anyone hasn't seen it, it's amazing. I think it's 2009, Mark, if I'm right, and it's the first edition of the electric running of the running of electric bikes, the TT, and it's sort of laughable. Everything is a mad anarchic concept, and to think that was only 10 years ago is bananas, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Unfortunately, they've scrapped the TT Zero races now because they were quite poorly attended. There's not that many manufacturers in it yet, and time slots at the TT are really kind of precious. So, but it will come back. It will come back.
I didn't know that had been cancelled. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's a shame. There's only really two teams that are kind of front runners, and the rest were like like universities that had cobbled something together up in their workshops and stuff. But there's a support race for MotoGP. That's good. And Energica are the manufacturers. They're good.
Awesome.
Cool. Thanks for that, Mark. Thanks for that, Naomi. Now we can't help but notice that we have got some guests that have arrived with a very nice shiny collection of trophies on the was that the half behind them, or the mantelpiece there. Now, how many, Jeff? How many are yours and how many are Joe's?
They're actually all mine. Those ones. So.
They're all yours.
They're all Joe's.
Well done, Joe.
They're all mine.
Fantastic. Thanks for both coming. So for people who don't know who the guests are, Joe and Jeff, if you could just let us know your names and your Twitter handles, if that's all right, please.
So it's Joe Polley. Twitter is @JoePolleyRacing.
It's Jeff Smith, and it's Jeff Smith BTCC.
Fantastic. Thanks for both coming along. And obviously the trophies are for motorsport. So could you both tell us a bit about what you've both been up to?
So we've just been out actually this weekend. It was our first race weekend in the Mini Sevens at Donington. So it was nice to get back out racing again. A bit strange with all the restrictions, but it's good to be back on track.
Yeah, how apparent is it when you're in the paddock that there is all these restrictions? Is it a completely different world, or is it kind of back to familiarity and you forget about it quite quickly? Or?
Yeah, there's a bit of that, isn't there? It is quite hard to remember that you're supposed to be distancing and things, but you can definitely tell there's a difference. It's quite strange. It's a bit of a surreal atmosphere because there's obviously no crowd milling around. So it's just the drivers and their families that are in the paddock.
Yeah, and how does the podium celebrations and that kind of thing happen? Do you still go on the podium, or is that just skipped? Or
They bring the trophy to you now. Oh.
Really? I'm hoping that's a cat because it looks a bit like some sort of monkey or something, just from the tail. And so, from what I can make out, Jeff, you did all right this weekend, didn't you?
Yeah, put it on pole by quite a chunk. Won the first race and then second in the second race. So yeah, and beat the lap record. So,
where were you this weekend?
Donington Park.
Oh, okay, fantastic. And Joe, how did you get on?
I did okay. I had sixth. Qualified sixth, finished sixth in race one, although I did have quite a good battle going up and down to like fourth and sixth and seventh. And then race two, I had my throttle jam open.
Oh, blimey.
Gate, which I've never had in 13 years of racing. That's the first time that's happened. So it was a bit of a...
What was the outcome there? Did you get...
wide open moment.
The trophies behind you then, for both of you, where have they come from?
They're all me ones, my ones, aren't they? So yeah, 13 seasons of minis I've done. So that's from my original days in mini stocks when I was a kid, and then through Mini Challenge, Mighty Minis, and Mini Sevens.
Mini Sevens, yeah.
Yeah, so you've raced both the classic minis and the modern minis, haven't you?
Yeah. I've done basically every mini championship. I think worked my way through them all.
Fair enough. And Jeff?
My collection of mainly, well, there's a lot of Clio stuff. There's a whole array of Clio stuff over there. I did the Italian Clio series some years ago and the UK Clio series, then moved into BTCC. So quite a collection behind us and BTCC trophies. And then the biggest one of all of them is I helped Motorbase win the GT Championship one year and did a few rounds in one of their cars and helped the championship for the Motorbase guys. So.
British GT.
British GT, yeah. Sorry.
Fantastic. And let's talk, before we go back onto motorsport, let's talk about road cars, if that's okay. So, Joe, do you actually drive a Mini?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Drives a Mini.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember once I took a picture of one that was for sale, and you're like, "Get it, just get it." So yeah, a bit of a Mini. Mini runs in the blood, though, I guess, because you come. Is it your dad from Polley Sport?
Yeah, so my dad raced hot rods.
Okay.
So I grew up with motorsport. It was actually Anglia's that he was most famous for racing, not minis, but
yeah,
minis.
Now the name, I come from Kings Lynn, and I think the name's quite, familiar to people around here because it's not too far away that Polley Sport runs, is it? No,
they're in Mainey now in Cambridgeshire. They've been about 15, 20 years. So we're from Sussex originally, and then Mum and Dad moved up there and moved the business all up there. So it's just more central for the motorsport because they're obviously out every weekend at various tracks. And from Sussex, it's like an hour drive before you're even on the M25, and then everywhere's far away. So it's a lot more central location for them.
And so you grew up around cars and racing, and how long was it until you started to give it a go yourself?
We had old Mini, surprisingly, that me and my brother used to drive up and down my nan's dirt track when we were probably about 10 or 11. So that's learned to drive.
Ah, fantastic. 10 or 11. Fantastic. And Jeff, I know obviously the motorsport family is running downwards now as well, but where did you kind of first get into motorsport?
I used to drag Mum and Dad around to anything with an engine, basically, when I was a little kid. We hadn't got 2 pennies to rub together, and my dad promised me that one day he'd buy me a go-kart. And one day he came home from work with basically a tubular chassis he'd got one of his electricians to make out of electrical conduit. There was no wheels or anything joined to it, and said, "There you go, I've done my bit." And gave me a rotavator engine to go with it, and we never did get going. But and then it was I was 27 before I actually started karting.
Were you really? Wow.
Enough money together to go karting, and did about 5 or 6 years of karting, and then had kids, so packed up racing for a bit, did all the kids stuff, and then went back to racing 2008.
Fantastic, and didn't look back since. So fantastic. So, talking of motorsport, then we do have. I'm throwing this to Neil now because I'm hoping that there's some motorsport questions that are going to appear on a quiz. Now, yes and no.
There's a thing, which is because Craig got our first 5 out of 5 last week, and because last week was all F1, I did kind of convince the micro quizmaster to do an all road cars quiz this week.
So, that's fine. Yeah, so a few very happy people.
We'll perhaps sign off at this point then.
I'm so sorry, guys. If I'd known, it would have been an all BTCC and minis quiz. But
0 is a perfectly respectable score in this. Okay,
it is.
Promise. 0 is a really respectable score.
Yeah, if we, generally 1 or 2 is good. So if you happen to have a pen or paper there, feel free to jot it down. But as long as you remember which ones you got right and which ones you didn't, then that's the main thing, because we'll ask you for your scores at the end. But for a bit of background,
is everyone seeing a blank screen at this point?
These questions were written by we are. Yep. Yeah, sorry. These were written by Neil's son. So if they're evil, you've got to go and shout at a 9-year-old guy. So.
who will be 10 on Friday, to be fair. But anyway,
that's all right. Double figures, you can shout.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's completely allowable at that point. Anyway, here we go.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the absolutely humongous, enormous, and very, 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 quite small, big motoring quiz. Question 1. What was the first company that Horatio Pagani worked for? The answer? Lamborghini. Question 2. Speaking of Lamborghini, what does the name Sesto Elemento mean? The answer? 6th element. Which engine formed the basis for the engine of the Aston Martin Vulcan?
I'm excuse this one.
The answer? A Ford Mondeo. Yes, a Ford Mondeo. Question 4. Guess this car from these 5 very small pictures. The answer! The Mercedes AMG SLS. Question 5. How much horsepower is a K car from Japan supposed to have? The answer? 63 to 62 horsepower. And thanks everyone for playing, or everyone who did play. next week. I hope you got some right. And thank you.
And how did we do this week, everyone?
Is there a threshold allowed for that, for the K-car one?
Yes, I need that one.
I went too high.
Let's say yes.
Let's say
Okay.
yes.
I did not cover myself in glory with that one.
No. Horsepower.
Give myself the fourth
You
mark.
put 99 as well.
I didn't realise there was
Sorry,
kids of that much intelligence.
You've
You're old,
no
know
idea,
those sort of
honestly.
things.
We've lost our young demographic.
How do you think I got these bags?
Oh, that hurts. That.
Who did anyone? I know it's a long shot. Did anyone get 5 out of 5 on that then?
I'm not continuing my streak.
Sorry, Craig.
It ends at 1.
Sorry, Craig. Anyone get 4?
Yes.
Alan,
Got
you
the
got
wrong.
4.
I got the wrong, not Ferrari at the start. I put Maserati, not Lamborghini. So. And the reason for my threshold there, by the way, was I got 64 brake horsepower for the.
I think we'll allow that.
For the Kai car.
Fantastic. Anyone got
You'd
3?
3, yeah, that's me.
What am I?
A half, maybe, if we're allowing 60 and 1.5 for element.
You just make up your own.
Yeah,
point.
go on. Take it, Richard. Take it. I would. Yeah, he's pretty merciless. Take what you can where you find it.
Anyone got 2?
Yeah.
Well done, Chris.
1.5, we think.
Well, 1.5. Good.
1.5.
We
Has
got
anyone
a
pretty
V6
respectable
and a Merc.
Yeah, that's good enough. Yeah. Anyone get 1? Craig's
Other
got 1.
mighty
Brandon's got
Apollo.
1.
I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, we went last.
No, 1.5 is actually a really good score.
I'm delighted. Look, when it's F1 questions, I'm delighted if I get 1.5.
Yeah.
So it's
He'll
just people's turn this
be
week.
taking a week off next week because it is his birthday at the weekend. So there will.
Oh, okay.
You'll get a chance to recover and hit and brush up.
Set
on
him some
Wikipedia next week. Yeah, why not?
We had a comment come in for Near Car. Near's going to be here hopefully next week, I think, and he's got 3. So he's kind of coming in. You know, he's doing his revision before he comes in next week. So well done, Near. Now, before we move on, firstly, apologies if you see lots of delays. I can see that I'm really glitchy and blocky. So if I cut in and out, it's modern technology for you. Sorry about that. Now, Jeff and Joe, I don't know if you were watching along before you joined, but what we got the new guys, Brandon and Mark, to do was a track day owned scrap wheel. Did you see that, or didn't you get a chance?
Yes,
You did
we
see
did.
that.
Saw a
So you
little bit of it.
fancy a go yourself?
Yeah. go on.
Okay, we'll do it individually then. So Joe, we'll get you first. I'll just pop the screen up. So again, if you guys can just shout when you see the track day owned scrap wheel. Have we got it on the screen yet? Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Again, sorry if there's delays. It's just internet's for you. So Joe, your first one. I'll give it a spin. Okay, your first car is the Mercedes 190e Cosworth. So the Cosworth version. Remove that. And your second car. We have a Corrado VR6.
Sirocco, is it?
A Corrado.
Corrado.
Same thing. I bet I'll say that in front of Rich Goodin.
I was going to say, is that Major Gav's Corrado?
Sorry, Rich?
Is that Major Gav's Corrado?
I don't think it is, but it's very similar, isn't it? And quite a different car then. We have a Celine. I can't remember the exact model of the Celine, but that's your choice. So, yeah.
That's an easy one.
Track day owned scrap. So what was the first one again? That was
the Merc.
190 East.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Right, track day owned
I
scrap.
don't know whether I'd keep that or track day it. Obviously, it'd be good for track day, but I'd probably want to keep that more than the other two.
So practical.
Joe, you don't have to look at Jeff. You just make your own choice.
It's not actually going to happen.
whilst you're deciding, I have a really dull Saline S6, S7.
Go on then.
And that's that it was the aerodynamics were developed in the wind tunnel at Glasgow University.
Oh,
So
really?
despite the fact it's all American and it's all American everything, the aero and everything was actually sorted out in Glasgow.
Mm.
There you go.
Oh.
That is, I told you it was a dull fact.
Oh, will it help Joe make up her mind?
Right, yeah.
Probably
Okay, I'm going to go track day with Celine.
Yep.
Keep the Merc and
Yep.
scrap the Corrado.
Fair enough. I think that's a sensible thing to do. Fantastic. Thanks for that. Jeff, you're up next. Let's give this a spin. Oh, come on. This isn't fixed. This isn't fixed. So your first car is the Volvo touring car.
Did you race against that?
No.
Your second car. Second car is a Ford Escort Cosworth.
Oh.
And the third car. Wow, a step up. So the Ferrari 288 GTO.
Yours are way better than mine.
You had a
So
cry.
Army. Mm.
We've got the Volvo BTCC, the Escort Cosworth, and the Ferrari.
I'd scrap the Ferrari because I just don't like them.
Okay.
Oh.
Someone's going down to that scrap heap. Going to retrieve it.
Got to track day the Volvo, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hell of it. So that just leaves me with my everyday Escort Cosworth to drive.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thanks for that. So you've managed to, you know, obviously got to track the Volvo, haven't you? So you've chosen the Escort Cosworth over the Ferrari as your everyday car. Joe, how do you feel about that?
I'm not surprised. When I met Jeff, he had a Clio Cup car on the road as his road car.
Did he?
He had it. Did you have it from like, no, you'd had it years, didn't you? And it was run into the ground. It did track days and things with it. So it was, you can imagine the bumper was hanging off it. He used to come and pick me up in it. I hated it.
Oh, it's all coming out now, isn't it? Yeah. Oh,
One of my mates is heavily involved in Clios, and he used to service it for me. And I took it to him for a service one day, and he said, "Do you realise both front springs are broken?" Surely not.
Just drive around the problem. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, fantastic. Well, thanks for doing the track day own scrap and the F1 quiz. The next thing on our list, hopefully, those of you who got the message managed to get a red and a green thing to hand.
Yes.
Yes, excellent. Brandon, you got red and a green?
We have an Alton Park hat.
Oh, nice.
I've got a red green screen on my phone, so let's see how this works.
And this week, the red green questions, I believe, are in Alan's hands. So, Alan, I'm going to hand over to you.
Yeah, I'm a bit nervous about this now.
I found the green thing. Sorry, I had to rescue it from the garden.
Good.
What?
Okay.
What is it? A bush.
No, yeah, I'm actually really into my gardening, except just rustic.
If nobody shows up with half a shrubbery, then we know.
Yeah, that's what Cammie's
We
got
know
to
that
get,
Charlie
Is
isn't
it
in
the
the
right
background.
kind of shrubbery, though?
Yeah. But anything out there for me anyway. Right. Okay. I've got a few. They're a bit weird. Hope they're all right.
We like weird. It's fine.
Yeah. So let's start off with some easy ones. I'd rather drive a pickup truck than a convertible.
Depends on the weather, really.
I do like a pickup though.
Oh, my hand's gone funny.
There's not nearly enough reds in that one. Never mind.
When you can only find a deck chair.
Simple one. Hot hatches are more fun than supercars. I think we've had that.
Yeah.
to be honest.
Green.
That's what I like to see.
And the cat.
No, I'm still staying red.
Cat says green.
The Toyota Yaris is the pinnacle of automotive achievement.
Sorry, Alan.
No. Okay, thanks, Mark. You can be my friend.
Despite the fact I've been on the Polley blog, I have to say
right. Whoa. No, that one's rubbish. Sorry, let's put a line through that one. Computer games. Lotus Esprit Turbo Challenge is more fun than Gran Turismo.
Oh.
But we don't know. We don't do computer games.
Neither do I, to be honest. I managed to get one to work at the weekend. Yeah, okay, that'll do. That's pretty good. Grassroots motorsport needs to be better publicized to attract and enthuse spectators.
Yes.
Yeah.
Has to be green on.
100%.
Yay.
I just realised when it's been a car.
What's next? Rental e-scooters in cities are a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
A lot of red. There's more red than I would go. So it's about 50-50 on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's just a series of lawsuits waiting to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Yeah. I don't know. It was just funny that it came up earlier on. A Pontiac Fiero or Toyota MR2 is cooler than a replica supercar.
Oh,
I see.
yeah.
So the car that people build replica supercars on is invariably cooler than the replica super. Thank you, everyone. A relief. Otherwise, I'd never speak to some of you again.
oh no, wait.
Tea is normally a disappointing drink, and coffee is much better. I'm so disappointed LA's not on tonight.
No.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's enough green there for me to be happy.
My brother's pop plant was a better idea.
Coffee is almost always awful.
Tea is almost always awful, or coffee is almost awful.
No, you haven't been drinking the right tea.
No, coffee's the stuff of life.
It is.
Freelance workers.
Come to Belfast. I will give you good tea.
You see, I knew the Irish would disagree with this one, to be perfectly honest. It was kind of planted.
The Irish.
Both of you. I knew this would go horribly wrong. I'd rather drive in France than the USA.
Ooh.
Great road trip countries, both of them.
Where
Okay,
in
that's
France?
good. Anywhere. It's France.
We don't do champagne in
Wait,
the
does
USA.
that mean now with
That's true.
coronavirus, or can that be any time when US?
Can be any time. I'm prepared to allow any time.
Oh, okay. I do USA if it's not infected.
I'd rather drive in New York City than Paris. There's a theme here.
They're both in gridlock, aren't they?
Yeah.
I drove in LA for
Really?
hell.
Can I ask? I've
Yeah.
got a question. I've got a question about Paris. I don't know if it's true. I heard it as a rumor. Somebody told me that there's that big roundabout round the Arc de Triomphe.
Yeah.
Somebody told me as soon as you drive on that, your car insurance is null and void until the moment you come off that roundabout. Is that is true?
Mm.
It's a bit. It's not really.
No. The amount of accidents
Sorry.
that happen on it.
But
Your
I think
insurer
you'd
might
have
try and tell you
real.
that.
I think you'd have real trouble trying to claim that something was somebody else's fault if you're a foreigner
Yeah,
driving
that's
around.
the issue. Yeah.
And I never saw a car.
Especially in France, yeah.
Every car has a
My
dent.
understanding is it's true.
Yeah. Parisians have a city car and a car for going out to their place in the country.
Yeah.
A decent car. That's what they do.
Smashed up
okay.
car and a not smashed up car.
Yeah, basically. Last one on this theme. I'd rather drive in Paris than in Rome.
Oh no.
Oh,
Rome is just no.
Rome's just no.
Rome is terrifying.
I'd rather not drive in any of the last three cities mentioned. I was on a roll by that point. Yes, quite. The availability of a good mobility service would help me enjoy special drives even more.
A good mobility service.
Mobility service.
Yeah, mobility service. Whatever you take mobility service to be, but generally not driving yourself.
Oh.
Thanks.
Like
Neil.
Joe driving me. I'll go with that.
If you count Joe as a mobility service, but you're a braver man than I am, and I've never met her in person.
Get there quite quickly.
Okie doke. I thought that would be a bit of a weird one. Last but not least, when you spent all week staring at a computer screen, working on a car is good therapy. I would hold my green up, but it's on the shelf and I can't read it. Yay! Right, that's it. I've finished torturing you now.
Lovely. Thanks, Alan. Thanks, Alan. Who fancies them next week? No. Oh, Chris.
No,
Chris and
I'll do
Cammie.
it,
Chris
might
and
as
Cammie.
well. I've been away for too long beforehand, so I need a reason. So I need to redeem myself.
Okay. Well, we'll say
How many
Chris.
would you like?
Sorry?
How many questions would you like?
Like 12.
12? Cool. That's gonna be fun. We're gonna brainstorm a game of Cards Against Humanity.
That was 14 and possibly a couple too many. So there you go.
Still think like, oh, there's a cat. There's a cat. Everybody. So what's the cat called? Oh, sorry.
Oh, Jeff muted me. Nunu. Nunu. We've got two. We've got Macy as well, who's a Siamese menace.
You know what?
Not the
vandalising something somewhere.
TikTok.
Yes.
You're on TikTok with
Yes.
cats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
what's the TikTok account? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Macy and Nu.
Macy and Nu, yeah. I knew I followed it, but I can't remember what it was called. So if people want more cat content, yeah. Lovely, fantastic. Well, we've already got to 9 o'clock. There's still a couple of bits we need to do before we finish up with Craig's fact of the week. Cammie, you've been busy this week doing illustrations and. Sorry, buddy.
I'm busy all the time.
Of course you are. Yeah, sorry if it implied that you weren't busy
this week.
But what have you got there for us?
Well, I do sort of illustrations and graphic design and everything, and I've done a couple that are on my Etsy store, but I don't think many people are aware of them. So people like them, but I've not sold any yet. So I want to give one away.
Okay.
This is the one I'll give away. It's Ayrton Senna's. So if we go from the top, it's completely illustrated by myself using photo references of his car. And I thought, I mean, for starters, would anybody like it?
Oh, certainly, yeah.
So
let's all fight for it.
Here's the question.
Arm wrestle.
All right.
What manufacturer builds the W Series car?
Hi. That's Delara.
Delara.
Yeah, Tartus.
No.
Tartus.
Tartus.
Yeah,
of course it
is.
Oh.
I heard somebody say Tartus.
Sound depends on the answer.
Yeah, I think Brandon got it.
Yeah,
Brandon was.
Yeah.
Brandon was
Someone got it before me. I did know it, but someone jumped in. I'm not sure who it was.
I don't know. You two are gonna have to fight over it. I mean, I'll give you both one if you said it at the same time.
Fair enough.
I'll give you both one then. But
Oh, that's very kind of you, Cammie.
Thank
Fantastic.
you very much. It's awesome.
That looks fantastic. So you've got an Etsy shop. Is it just what was it? Just Cammie Sturch or Cammie Racing?
Cammie Racing.
Cammie Racing.
Because I've got
Okay,
a Nigel
brilliant.
Mansell. I've got a Nigel Mansell one. There's a Nicky Lauda one. There's an Alain Prost one. But I'm reluctant to send the others to print without having sold any yet.
Yeah.
There's also a Mike Beutler one, isn't there?
Sorry.
There's a Mike Beutler one.
Yes, there is. Yeah, although that's a very different style, but that's not been sent to print either yet. It's
Cammie, if you-
scary
Cammie,
spending
will you-
money. Sorry?
Will you do a new tweet about that poster with a link and we'll retweet it?
Ah, yes, I will.
Yeah, certainly. We'll definitely get. There's so many people out there that would love that stuff. So
You can be nice in your tweet, but we'll be not nice in ours and we'll just bully people into buying them.
yeah,
My plan is I'm going to see
Money with menaces.
at Brands Hatch. I'm going to go see the British Formula 4, and there's an art shop there, and I'm literally going to give the guy a couple prints framed and just say, look, you can have these free, try and sell them. If you sell them, come back to me. But
fingers crossed it all goes all right for you, Cammie, because they are fantastic. And some of the work you've been doing recently is incredible. The little animations that you've been dropping into the group chats and showing on Twitter are fantastic as well. We saw you did a W Series one recently as well, didn't you? You did Lando Norris as well, and maybe it's are they easy to kind of adapt between, as long as it's a single seater?
yeah,
they're fairly simple.
Simple. Yeah, they're quite simple. The aim is like some people would like the ones I've done and they'd want their own personalized one. I did one for Alice because Alice Powell, W Series, she was really lovely to me and sort of invited me into the Discord where all the drivers were chatting, and then invited me to a iRacing event where there was like Callum Eilert, Billy Monger, Charles Leclerc, Alex Albon. They were all in the Discord, all in a race. And I was the only non-racer in there. Sim racer. I was the only sim racer. To the point where Billy Monger went, "Who's Cammie?" Like with real disgust in his voice. Like, who's this? Right.
Well,
but I was wheel to wheel with Billy Monger in the race. So
there you go. Yeah, exactly. If you ever get round to doing minis, let us know, and maybe we could get a Jeff or a Joe version drawn up. Joe, you've got what colour are you in this year? A pink and blue, isn't it?
Blue this year.
Blue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you do blue mini, actually minis would go down quite well. From
I've gone orange this year.
Yeah, Jeff said a new livery this year.
I never have fancy liveries. I've gone orange, and I've won the O plate last year, which is a single one-off meeting that all the drivers go to. I won that, and then I won the championship, so I had 0-1, so it was like 0-1 out. The general.
Oh yeah.
General lead horns as well.
So are you guys having a whole season now? Is this how it's going to work? Or so there's going to be a championship and everything. It's not just individual races.
Crammed in. Yeah, we've got 6 rounds of mini sevens and 3 rounds of Masters Historic as well, because we raced in the historic minis as well.
Okay.
Actually ended up with like 9 race weekends crammed into half the year. So it's going to be pretty busy from now on.
Blimey. And I guess there's no news on having spectators or anything there towards the end of that, or you just play it by ear?
You can. We could have spectators at Donington at the weekend, but you have to pre-book tickets, and you're not allowed in the paddock or the pit lane.
Right.
You can only go in the grandstands and like certain areas.
Oh, that's interesting. So what tracks have you got coming up for the rest of the season then?
So we're back at Donington again next weekend. So we're there 2 weeks in a row. And then we've got 2 brands in August, which are both on the GP circuit, aren't they? We're on with the touring cars, actually, with BTCC.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and then Historic's there a couple of weeks after. And where else have we got? We've got a front.
You just put him in the car, send him out the pit lane, and he'll learn as he's
unorganised.
Yeah, we've got Thruxton, Castlecombe, Snetterton, and Spa, I think.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so it's pretty good.
Great. Well, good luck with
if
the rest
we're allowed
of the
into
season.
Belgium.
If we're allowed out of the country.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, there's quite a few championships that have a little a jaunt over there in Belgium, isn't there? I know, obviously, some of the international race drivers have obviously been racing out there. I know Alex Brundle's in France at the moment, for example.
Yes.
And yeah, hopefully what's okay for him is going to be okay for you guys as well. So brilliant. Well, good luck. Yeah, good luck with the rest of the season. We'll keep an eye on things, and then maybe if the ZoomZoomers are all fancying a meetup at some point, if we're allowed to go to a race, who knows? We might see you at a racetrack. But before we finish for the day, before we finish for the week, it always falls down to Craig to give us a fact of the week. But sometimes it's put on a spot somewhat, and it doesn't necessarily have one to hand. Have you got one for this week?
Yeah, kind of, really, I suppose. Firstly, of course, it was Tatters. I should have got that, really.
Still dwelling on it.
Yeah, that's going to haunt me for the rest of my life. Mini sevens are some of the best races I see on when I do go to racetracks. Definitely,
they're really good.
So,
really close.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, I'll get to see them at some point this year. That'd be nice. But today is Jarno Trulli's 46th birthday.
Happy birthday, Jarno.
Yep, I'm sure he's watching over at his home in Pescara with a glass of his wine.
Is there a series of other people's birthdays stuck behind him?
I would think so. He does actually. He's born on the same day as IndyCar driver Oriol Servia, funnily enough, as well. But I want to highlight his 2004 F1 season because it was a bit weird. So in the first 13 races, 2 drivers won a Grand Prix. Michael Schumacher, who won 12 of them, and Jarno Trulli, who won 1 of them after Schumacher got taken out by Juan Pablo Montoya in the pit lane, in the tunnel behind the safety car at Monaco. I think Trulli was probably on course to win that race anyway, but that was the one race in the first 13 races of 2004 that Schumacher did not win. So it was going pretty well for Jarno at that point. He was having the upper hand over this Spanish kid called Fernando Renault, and it was looking pretty good. But before the end of the season, he was sacked. So yeah, his relationship started to like deteriorate with the team after he threw away a podium finish at the team's home Grand Prix, despite the trolley train being a thing. He didn't quite make it to the end, and then didn't score a point for the following 5 races, despite taking pole at Spa. And at that point, Flavio Briatore, being Flavio Briatore, was like, he was gone and was replaced by a Canadian driver called Jacques Villeneuve, who some people may have heard of. Yeah. So truly, he had already signed a deal for 2005 with Toyota, so he just went over down the pit lane, leapt in the car for the final couple of races of the year, and started that relationship a little bit early. But he was looking pretty well in the championship after his podium not podium that should have been a podium in France. He was 4th in the championship, only behind the dominant Ferraris and Jenson Button in the far superior BAR, and then dropped down to 6th in the standings by the end of the year.
So the only guy to manage to get a win off Michael Schumacher, because you say he was, due to win the Monaco race anyway, was Jarno Trulli. And do you think he deserves more credit?
Yeah, he is the driver that Fernando Alonso did say was the fastest teammate he had over 1 lap. And this is the same guy who had people like Lewis Hamilton, Jenson Button, Kimi Räikkönen as teammates. So I think definitely high praise for Jarno. He just didn't always string it together in the races.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. Thanks for that, Craig. Naomi, sorry.
Formula E as well.
Oh, yes, he did. Yeah. That was a bizarre race because he started on pole but finished last, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, it was a bonkers race. Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of switching teams mid-season, I was going to ask Craig's opinion and anyone else who would like to chip in about whether there'll be a quick shuffle in Formula One mid-season, moving Vettel out, Sainz over, Ricciardo over, and Alonso into Renault.
Probably not, with the amount. If it was just one driver coming in from Formula 2 or something, maybe. But with Ferrari and McLaren, that sort of sparks a whole chain event where several teams are changing.
It feels like everyone wants it, though, especially after the last weekend for Ferrari.
Because when it was Red Bull and Toro Rosso, that was sort of internal, so they could do that quickly and not affect any outside parties.
Yeah, I think it'll be tricky for all that although it requires so many different things falling into place and so many contracts being severed early for that to happen. So I think it's unlikely, but I mean,
buyout clauses.
Yeah, buyout clauses, stuff like that. But Formula One's a strange world, so I mean, some really strange things happened in there. So it wouldn't surprise me, really.
Yeah, it's been a strange enough season as it is. So I think nothing's unexpected right now. But yeah, so I know Chris has just disappeared, but I'm sure he won't mind us sort of starting to tie it up and not waiting for him to come back. But massive thank you to the new guys today. So obviously Jeff and Joe coming as the special guests. If you ever loose end on a Monday night, there's always a seat here available for you.
Thank you.
And we'd love to see this orange car, this orange car in action, Jeff. Now, Joe, you're an ambassador for, is it by Catherine?
Yes, Petrol Head perfume. Yeah.
Petrol Head perfume. So
yeah,
please reassure us that this doesn't smell like the pit lane.
It does. No, it smells amazing.
I wear it sometimes.
It's really nice perfume, actually. It's really good.
Cool. Well, we'll keep an eye out for that on your social media and everything. And Brandon, you're still designing liveries for real cars and online racing?
Yeah. Jumping more into real stuff now. So I got a few helmets lined up, that kind of thing. So yeah, all go again. So it's great.
Brilliant. Good to hear. And hopefully, when the off seasons comes around, it might be extended seasons straight into November, December even, but beyond that, hopefully you're going to find plenty of people who are keen to get a smash in livery. I'm not sure about an orange
absolutely.
Mini, whether that's Ever be going to be something
Yeah,
that you
never done a mini
tackle?
before, but
Never done a mini. Okay. But from everyone, and sorry that Chris isn't here to say goodbye. I'm not sure where he's gone. But for this week, thanks everyone for watching. We'll put links in the comments at some point during the week to jump to key parts, so you can have a look at the track and scrap stuff, the red green stuff, the Ray Briscoe quiz, and of course Jeff and Joe joining us as well. But until next week, thanks everyone for coming. There's a subscribe button at the bottom of the video, of course, as well. So make sure you click that, and we'll see you all next Monday around 8 p.m. Thank you very much.
Cool. Cheers, guys.
Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Cheers.
Bye, Chris.
Cheers.